It's 2 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon. Thanks for tuning in to Cannabis Legalization News, where we explain marijuana laws so you can change them. Hey, Miggy. Hey, Tom. What's going on?
Yo, what's up?
Hey, another beautiful day in the summertime over here in Illinois. Gearing up for going to the first live in-person thing in Chicago in, oh my gosh.
Tomorrow?
May? No, the last one that I was at was March 4th, 2020.
It's been a while, bro. The pandemic's almost over.
Yeah, Illinois even stopped counting the number of people that are getting coronavirus, and you can come on out and see me, but not Miggy. We'll try to see if we can get him on video conference. So tomorrow in Chicago, what's the name of the Chicago Convention Center that it's actually at? You can find out by going to cannabisimp.com and then sign up there. We do have a promo code that's going on, and if you also want to try to win some free tickets, you can win those free tickets by going to cannabisindustrylawyer.com and signing up for our newsletter. The email on the free tickets will be going out tonight at 5 p.m. So go on over to cannabisindustrylawyer.com and sign up for our newsletter, or just visit cannabisimp.com and use promo code CLB15 for 15% off.
And that's 4 tickets for the Chicago show, right? It's not like 4 tickets for anywhere you want. It's for
just for the Chicago show. Chicago people, I got a conference that I'll do tomorrow at 1:15 p.m. doing a survey of the different types of laws and what Illinois may want to consider in the future as its industry matures.
No doubt, dude. Hey, so what do you think about the Congressional Democrats defy Biden by scrapping DC marijuana sales ban?
That is big news. And if you're here because of federal cannabis legalization news, please do click that like button. Really helps the algorithm and the channel. And then also you'll get more notifications as new bills come online in Congress, and we dissect them here on Cannabis Legalization News. So Congressional Democrats have defied Biden by scrapping the DC marijuana sales ban. And for years, when did DC first legalize? It's been a bit.
My God.
It's been a minute.
Yeah,
and so yeah, but they aren't able to sell. And so that's why they have like the stickers, it's like, oh, that's a $40 sticker right there. Oh, it's an NFT, is it? Yeah.
But and that's because of the right, it's a rider. Is that what it is? It's a rider. It's included on the
they can control the appropriations. And so it might have been a rider, but let's see what the article's actually reporting. So yeah, go ahead, man.
Okay, President Joe Biden wants to keep blocking Washington, D.C. from implementing marijuana sales. But today, leaders of a U.S. House Representatives subcommittee released a wide-ranging spending bill that would lift that ban, in addition to protecting banks that service state legal cannabis businesses. Not only, like you're saying, do we dissect the policy itself, but it's also the process. This is one of those things that this might be a fighting chance, right? Because this is going through the appropriation. So we, despite the president specifically maintaining a rider barring DC from using its tax dollars to legalize marijuana commerce in his budget proposal last month, the legislation from House Appropriations, Financial Services, and General Government, the FSGG chairman Mike Quigley, would remove that barrier. The proposal would cover annual funding for various. So again, it's a rider, right? It's a part of it. It's not like an actual bill being put through.
No, it's an addendum. It's like, but don't forget this. Fine, we'll add that.
But see, this is where what I'm trying to get to is I don't think shit's going to happen until we fix the filibuster. Like yesterday, the Republicans showed, I don't know how the Democrats just don't have nice things, period. Like somehow you win everything, but you just can't get shit done. And that's because the process it's that parliamentary shit. It's that, we're going to be bipartisan and we want to be equal meeting hands across the fucking. No, we're all Americans. Let's just fix the filibuster so people have to work. Make these guys work.
They aren't going to fix the filibuster, and that's why they're doing these types of budget appropriation type of deals where they're riders, and then they're going to pass a budget. No matter what, they are going to fund the government because their phony baloney jobs count on it, and a whole bunch of their other constituencies, they work for that government, by the way, and so they want to get their paychecks. So it's just more politics on this issue. And so the exclusion in this for the fiscal year 2022 appropriations bill, which is developed by this committee, And that's going to go now to the subcommittee on Thursday. And then by the full appropriations panel, I tell you, you're just moving your ways up the committees all the way to maybe some floor action eventually. But the Biden administration has already disappointed advocates by declining to take meaningful action on cannabis reform as promised on the campaign trail. And this inclusion of the D.C. rider was seen as just an outright hostile act, because in his budget, he goes, no, you're not going to be selling weed in D.C. But then in the Democrats are like, oh, no, you should be selling weed in D.C.
I mean, it should be, because they've had it legal for so long. Like, what we're going through right now is world semantics.
Yeah, and then the representative from D.C., Representative Eleanor Holmes, told the Marijuana Moment that she is very disappointed over the decision, especially considering the fact that he's voiced support for D.C. statehood.
Yeah.
So like, if it was a state, okay, then fine, go ahead and legalize marijuana sales. But because you're, a federal district, nope, you're not allowed to.
Yeah, this is ridiculous that the Congress is controlling the lives of like pretty much the population of DC. I think more than Wyoming. Like,
yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, these people need to be represented properly, like the Americans they are, not these limbo. It's not Puerto Rico. It's not a place where they can have like a little.
Puerto Rico even has legal weed.
I think they got more say in the way their operations go than
at least medical weed.
Yeah, but and other good stuff.
Yeah, well, so there's that. And then moving on to Rhode Island, the Senate has approved the Senate in Rhode Island approved legalizing marijuana for adults, according to WJAR.
The Rhode Island Senate.
Go ahead.
WJAR.
Yeah.
The Rhode Island Senate has approved legalizing recreational marijuana use for adult use. Lawmakers said Tuesday's votes marks the first time either chamber of the legislature has voted on a bill legalizing cannabis. The proposal now heads to the state House of Representatives. So it's halfway there.
Halfway there. Shout out to Tom Choi. He is one of our members. Shout out to all of our members that have joined the channel. And if you want to get a t-shirt for our CLN tour, like Miggy and I are sporting, please to consider joining at the legalizer in chief level, and then DM us over at Cannabis Industry Lawyer on Instagram so that we can figure out how to ship that shirt to you. And after that, we can go back to the news. Well, the lawmakers said Tuesday. Wait, you got a comment on the news?
Oh, I was just going to say, because they're only halfway there, right? The Senate proposal would impose 20% on marijuana sales tax, but it still has to go through the Senate, right?
Now it goes through the House. But the Democratic Speaker, Joe Shircharky, butchered that one, has said lawmakers will likely address the creation of a legal marijuana industry in a special session this year. A special session.
It's probably going to be on 420 next year, probably, or 710. I got nothing. But, even though they're halfway there, who's all the way there?
Who's all the way there?
Connecticut.
Connecticut is all the way there. Connecticut signed into law their bill. So over 3 million people is it a Commonwealth? I'm assuming it is because it's in New England. I just assume all New England states are Commonwealths. Rhode Island only has 1 million people in it, but it's a dinky little place. Considering there's 1 million people in that dinky little place, because Wyoming has way more. But anyway, Governor Lamont has signed the bill in Connecticut.
Yesterday afternoon, Governor Ned Lamont signed into a law legislation that legalizes and safety regulates the adult use of cannabis in Connecticut. Safety.
Let's do the rundown of the Connecticut details for their new adult use law. Beginning on July 1st, 2021, adults 21 plus cannot have more than 1.5 ounces of cannabis on their person and no more than 5 ounces of cannabis in their homes or locked in their car, truck, or glove box. And it also eliminates the odor of cannabis or burnt cannabis as the basis to stop or search you.
Nice. Retail sales of cannabis aim to begin in Connecticut by the end of 2022.
What about home grow? Tell me about home grow.
MMJ patients can cultivate up to 6 cannabis plants, 3 mature, 3 immature. Nice. Woo. Beginning October 1st, 2021. All adults age 21 and over will be permitted to grow 6 cannabis plants, 3 mature, 3 by July 1st, 2023. Why so long? Like, home grow up to 6 plants is defelonized beginning July 1st.
Get your patient's license then. If you want to cultivate, get your patient's license.
I know. I just
well,
hate
let's talk about prior convictions. What happens for prior convictions? Beginning January 1st, 2023, there will be automatic erasures of convictions from January 1st, 2000 through September 15th, 2015 for possession of fewer than 4 ounces.
That's more than you guys too, right? Isn't your guys' conviction rate like an
1 ounce? Ours is a very peculiar one. I talk enough about Illinois, so I'll talk more about it later.
But revenue,
do revenue, man.
portions of the revenue will go to support economic opportunities in targeted communities and substance misuse prevention and recovery services. License types. This is your avenue.
Ooh, yeah, the Department of Consumer Protection, the DCP, would issue 9 different types of cannabis licenses, including a retailer, a hybrid retailer, which sells both adult use and medical cannabis, a cultivator, which cultivate 15,000 square foot or more of flowering canopy, I'm assuming, micro cultivator, which start between 2,000 and 10,000 square foot flowering canopy. That's actually pretty good. That's better than New Jersey did on their 1,000 plant grow. Product manufacturer, those are always really interesting. I got to follow up with somebody who has, they want to do a webinar with me regarding creating a lab. So that would be a product manufacturer. Food and beverage manufacturer. That's a cleavage I haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Product packager. Seen that. Delivery and transporter. So it's a very robust license type landscape. And then it appears that we're going to have some time now as they draft the rules and the regulations. Hopefully we'll get an application window out in 2023.
I just, and I hope with their adult use and medical cannabis, like how they separate these two, I hope they're not going to do like Washington and not treat them the same, because the plant in the end is a consumable product that needs to be treated equally amongst all consumers.
I'm so apoplectic that they don't regulate it. Like the dual license, unlimited license at the state level system that they have, like in California, Colorado, Michigan. That's the way to do it. If the community wants more licenses, let that community have more licenses. Why are you having this state create this problem? I mean, could you imagine if somebody goes like, oh, you want to be a lawyer? Well, a lot of people want to be lawyers. Go get your number over there. Oh, wait. You were never sued? Oh, you're not eligible. Only people who have been sued can become lawyers. It makes no sense.
And we talked about this before, how this is the most anti-American thing as far as like capitalism goes, because it just does not give, in a fair market, your product's going to win or lose because you have a good product or you don't.
Right. Or innovation. Like, you're not allowed to start that garage lab. Now, granted, you're not supposed to start a garage lab, but you have the regulators at the state level setting the ground rules. And then if the municipality is like, yeah, here's your permit for doing this particular type of extraction methodology, or just getting your processor's license so you can experiment, as opposed to really, really straitjacketing who can open for business. I don't really think that they should be treating it like it's a hospital or like it's a casino. I think they should be treating it like it's a brewery or like it's a bar,
Yeah, but but even like there's just so many different layers of the plant, and I think what you were trying to lead to was like the extraction process, where like people doing CO2 extracts or whatever, like opposed to like how you heard 5 years ago, explosions in random apartment buildings. Like people who are unskilled, and there is a skill set involved here, but if people had an opportunity to learn a place, some sort of infrastructure of like, because it's industrial use when you get into the extract level of things.
Well, yeah, and then they even in California they have 2 different types of licenses for manufacturer: hydrocarbon, non-hydrocarbon. If you want to use hydrocarbon extraction for the particular types of products that you're making, that's your preference. You should be able to make that business decision, provided that you comply with additional regulations.
Chris Pearson just posted he's waiting for Georgia, and I think I just read something today on Georgia. Let me see my
Yeah, go ahead and see if you can find something on Georgia. Georgia took applications for a huge cultivation license. Like, get out the checkbook huge. Just to build the thing would be over $10 million.
Jesus.
Yeah, and like that doesn't include the 1.25 million you just have to have in the tank, unless you're going for the small one. Then it's 600,000.
Well, this is slowly going to advance as a South. I think in the South, when they realize like all their northern brothers and sisters are doing fine and flush in cash. Washington State, they just did a budget, and we're over budget. Or the tax revenue that we brought in, they're flush with cash, where they're going to be investing into our infrastructure as far as the roads and whatnot goes. And a good portion of it is cannabis tax money.
Yep, and it's too bad though. But they've had a moratorium forever, and so you can get a license in Washington, but you have to buy it. And if that's where it's going, that's fine. I just hope that they then award these licenses that they're sitting on in certain states, or make the path to getting those licenses awarded out into the streets, so your industry can come up really, really easy, as opposed to creating all this weird stuff that goes on for years and lawsuits and more lawsuits.
Well, the anti-home grow thing, I just don't get where, if VA is going to be the first legal southern state next week. Yes.
Heck yep. Virginia. Anybody out there from Virginia, smash them likes.
It's going to be, hey, we had Chelsea. We should have Chelsea on again one time to talk about, they still have a lot of semantics to work through. They do.
They sure do, man. They sure do. It's just one of those deals where, it's a new industry, and then there's just so much money that has been flowing through it. And so the more that you make it this limited thing, and you say it's off limits to everybody unless they have $10 million, the traditional market's not going to leave. And so your policy objective really should be the license, the legacy to the licensed. And so to go from the legacy to the licensed, you can't just say the legacy's not involved, the legacy's not invited. Yeah. The people that are out there growing and holding down the city, they're not welcome. You have to give them a path. And then if they're caught still operating, be like, here's all these fines.
Everybody got their bowls packed?
Oh, I don't know. They should. My bowl's packed.
I was making sure you got your bowl packed.
Oh, I do. Shout out to the sponsor after we run this 420. It's powered by 420-365. You can find them at 420-365.com. And if your cannabis brand wants to sponsor 420 somewhere, please get in touch with us. Go over to Instagram and follow me at Cannabis Industry Lawyer.
I saw someone earlier just posted that Louisiana sucks, but Governor Edwards signs bill to allow smokable medical marijuana in Louisiana.
All right. WDSU is reporting that Louisiana will now allow doctors to prescribe marijuana in its raw, smokable form to patients.
Governor John Bel Edwards signed a bill Tuesday that removed a crude cannabis ban from state law, which had limited medical forms to elixirs, gummies, and inhalers.
I hate when they do that. Did they also limit the THC?
Did they? I don't remember. I know.
I don't recall.
I mean, she was working really hard to get that bill through, and in Louisiana, I mean, you're pushing a boulder up a hill.
Yep.
Yep. Mad props to her. And she's not a consumer.
Yeah. Proponents in the legislature pointed to other states that have added smokable pot to their prescription offerings and argued Louisiana had to keep pace to stay competitive. New Orleans is filled with jazz musicians. You're telling me that they don't have smokable medical cannabis? Come on.
Seriously though, I mean, I love the South, dude. And I would just I would love to smoke weed anywhere, really. But I mean, like,
I don't like it in Russia or like somewhere where it's really cold. I'd be like, I'm cold.
but I thought that you were suited for that. I thought genetically you're adapted to the cold.
Yeah, I know. It's the strangest thing. I prefer it. I'm kind of like the cannabis plant. Maybe I've smoked enough weed that I've kind of become acclimated to it. So if it gets much colder than 60 or actually 70, I'm like, But then if it gets much hotter than 90, I'm also like, well, that's not true. I enjoy the heat.
But I think, with my asthma too, though, I really enjoy taking cold hits, like out in the snow and shit. Like when I'm smoking, I really do enjoy the cannabis with the cold air when I take my hit. I don't know. That's the thing. But yeah.
State lawmakers were told by patients that they reported better results from raw marijuana and more affordable prices. Do you know what the license limit? I'm sorry. Yeah, that is the license limit for prescribed raw marijuana is in the state of Louisiana.
2.5 ounces.
That's right. 2.5 ounces every 2 weeks per patient.
Damn. Or 71 grams.
Very similar. That's New York. That's New Jersey's and Illinois' medical dispensing limit as well. 2.5 ounces every 2 weeks. And so, as people often do, and by people I mean states, they copied one another.
How long do you think before they get recreational now? Because I always think every state that has medical, they always turn to recreational or some form of an open market. Like, not everybody's gonna be like Oklahoma, but a lot
Oklahoma
of places.
is such a red state, but it's like one of those like, I have the business right to do this. You know,
Hey, it's
that
liberty.
kind of red state. Yeah. It's the best. I mean, like in theory, Oklahoma should be, well, Oklahoma or California should be leading the nation, or Colorado should be leading the nation in like cannabis innovation. You know?
Yeah, no, seriously. See what else we got going on.
Hey, we got some more federal studies. Do we have a federal studies bumper? Being told we do not yet have a federal studies bumper.
Well, because you're not proving the wrongness of cannabis.
The smoking gun, that would be hilarious for a bumper.
Oh,
you know, just like it's the smoking gun and instead like a weed flower comes out of it. We'll talk to the guy who does the bumpers.
Like a bang?
Instead of bang, it's like herb.
Poof.
Poof. Yeah.
But yeah, federal study shows link between pot use and suicide, which I don't think is true.
Oh, good. And trying to find the harm news, the federal study has shown a link between pot use and suicide. So prove us wrong out there, everyone watching.
Seriously. And listen to this. I mean, the study by the National Institute on Drug Abuse, again, National Institute on Drug Abuse. Like, it's not the National Institute of trying to help you get better, not the National Institute of like trying to find wellness things. No, this is like, we are going to find problems.
Right. And so the study by the National Institute on Drug Abuse analyzed data from more than 280,000 people ages 18 to 35. And they say that that data suggests marijuana users thought about suicide or planned or attempted it more often than people who don't use marijuana.
It's such a dumb study. I mean,
while the researchers aren't saying that marijuana is causing suicidal thoughts or action, they are pointing out that people who use pot are more prone to suicidal thoughts or actions. And so now one of these things is, you know, where's the control group where weed isn't illegal? You know, maybe that's some of the problems. Maybe they got arrested, or it's causing, you know, problems. They can't get a job. You know, there's worse, like bad stuff arising, not necessarily from using weed, but from weed's legal status has exposed that user to danger.
Or are also you saying that the cannabis consumer is more prone to ordering pizzas?
I don't know. But the researchers studied data from 4 groups of people: those who do not use marijuana, those who use marijuana but don't use it every day, those who use it daily, which for the purposes of the study was defined as at least 300 days a year, and those who are addicted to it. I guess that's everybody who uses it more than daily. So the conclusion was, among people who do not report having depression, 3% of people do not use marijuana reported thoughts of suicide, compared to 7% of non-daily users, 9% of cannabis users, and 14% of those addicted to cannabis.
Here's how I see this. I see a bunch of doctors sitting around popping pills, drinking margaritas, maybe going, okay, here's how we're going to turn this.
Yeah, I didn't even know if it's that. It's like, here's what we want our data set to say. Do you think we can take some p hacking and divide this up to make sure that the data says what we want it to say? Perhaps.
But even the control groups are like bullshit. Like, how are you going to have someone that's semi-user and then everyday user and then abuser, and then categorize them all as the just one consumer that you're all suicidal? You know, that it just seems to be too much of a variety on, like, you're trying to put a group into one thing, but at the same time dissect.
No, this might be what describes it, because first off, we do not know how large the sample sets were. We just know that there were 4 groups. It says among people with depression, so we don't know the base rate of this. Among people with depression, what percentage use cannabis? That was not disclosed. But according to this, among people with depression, 35% of those people that don't use cannabis reported suicidal thoughts, compared to 44% who reported non-daily cannabis use, 53% who use cannabis daily, and 50% of those who are addicted to cannabis. So as you become addicted to cannabis, if you have depression, your suicidal thought risk is slightly lower.
And like you're saying, though, people are prone to other things too. So it's cause, not effect. Like, even with the debate about like mental health,
again, I guess it was this suggests that marijuana users thought about suicide, planned it, or attempted it more often than people who didn't use marijuana. What about completion rates? Does it have any effect on completion rates?
Like, they like autopsies of like all the
all the people that actually died. So it looks like the sample that they are studying are just people that didn't, commit suicide.
It just seems like a very bland study that, like, fear mongering again. That's all it is. It's just bullshit fear mongering.
That's what gets the funding.
Yeah, no, that's a true story though. But we should play a strain and name the strain.
About half past the hour. That's when we like to play. Name that strain.
Nice.
Earl. I have named the strain.
Look how pretty that one is, though.
Okay, the name of the strain is actually not Earl. Now, this strain is a fairly longitudinal shaped nugget.
It's a
very long.
oblong.
And then I don't think it was machine trimmed. I think it was hand trimmed. And nice trim. Don't see any sugar leafs, really.
Lots of bracts.
Lots of bracts, lots of, the sugar leaves. That there might be one, and I'm pointing at it, and that doesn't work. It's right over. Yeah. And then the red hairs, they're just great. They haven't been broken off, so it doesn't look like it was machine trim. That is the strain. Please get the names in the comments.
This is
you
older
can
ones
guess
too.
the name of the strain in the comments, and if you want, you can win a T-shirt if you come to our booth tomorrow in Chicago at the Cannabis Trade Show. I know that I'll be there.
Somebody said Reggie.
Reggie, yes, Reginald Johnson.
There's a lot of close ones though. Like I know this name from like back in the day.
Back in the day. Okay, so we've narrowed it down. This is clearly an heirloom strain.
Yeah.
With that, we're going to move on to some celebrity marketing news. Oh my gosh, this one was good. Have you guys seen this going around? Let's come back to name that strain. Continue to get those names in. We will be monitoring the strains, and then we will also see if this is what Conan O'Brien was smoking. And so he has now started smoking weed only on television.
Well, now he's retired.
Yeah. So Seth Rogen gets Conan O'Brien to smoke weed on air in his final week.
He actually tweeted about it too. He talked about how Seth said he was kind of freaked out that he get Conan too high.
Well, from the amount of cannabis that Conan smoked, I'm not sure if he felt anything, to be honest.
Well, Conan said he doesn't smoke usually, and when he did smoke, he never felt anything. So it could be he's I don't know about you, but when I first smoked, I was 11. I didn't feel anything after it, and I was like, I didn't touch it again until I was 17, 16. Wow. Yeah. And then I got high, and I was like, oh, this shit's all right.
Well, when Conan O'Brien was fired as the host of The Tonight Show in 2010, he essentially said, fuck it, in his final week on the air and started doing whatever he wanted, spending as much money of NBC's money as he could and to get out on his way out of the door. And so he has become the longest serving late night host on TV, and it's his final week of shows on TBS.
Man, he's going to bring some comedy gold. He's taking it away.
What he did was he brought on, Seth Rogen, and we aren't going to play the actual stuff because then we'll get a copyright strike. So go check out that video. It's hilarious. And he gets Conan to smoke some weed. But let's talk about what this really is. This is Seth Rogen doing product placement for his brand Houseplant. Now that's good stuff because it's hilarious and people are talking about it, and Conan got smoked on it, and then you're like, and then it's being shared on the internet now, and so that's how you do it. You don't just say it's Willie Nelson's weed and you slap your name on it, and then you have to move out of Washington State.
Well, isn't Houseplant just like accessories though in California? And I think he had a plant company in Canada, so whatever he's smoking in California is something else, like or personal grow.
Well, again, you're not allowed to do the interstate commerce, which, of course, is just how it goes until it's no longer a Schedule I substance.
So many good close people.
Oh yeah, okay. Let's go back to it. In some type of hints, maybe tangentially related to Conan O'Brien smoking weed. We're going to be disguising the name of the strain. As thinking about like what Seth Rogen would name a cross of this strain. So Gouda, for example. Maybe he would call it his version Gouda because it's Gouda weed and then its lineage is the obvious.
I see what you did there.
I see what you did there. And I'm expecting somebody to, get the answer to name the strain in like 4.2 seconds.
Seriously. Or, because sometimes with these nerds, if you just say, this is a descendant from skunk number 1 phenotype. Oh, there you go.
And a shirt, or at least one of the copies of my Satan Smoke book. And so, yeah, of course, it was cheese, aka Dynafem cheese.
All right. So,
do you want to
nice.
give the people some of the background of cheese from Leafly?
Yes.
We have got to reach. If you guys know anybody at Leafly, reach out to them and say, hey, would you guys like to sponsor Name That Strain? Because that would be great.
Named for its sharply sour aroma, cheese is an indica dominant hybrid from the UK, which I didn't know, that has achieved widespread popularity for its unique flavor and consistency potency. With origins that stretch back to the late 1980s, cheese is said to descend from a skunk #1 phenotype, which we learned in one episode they do not have skunks in England.
Yes, if you guys want to check out our episode on England, subscribe now, and or just go to our channel and search for it. Search for the origin of like why does cannabis smell like skunk, and then you'll see that England doesn't have skunks, and so they don't know what that smell is like. It's just hilarious.
Yeah, and I didn't know UK gave us cheese. So wow, good on you guys. I didn't know UK had any like culture type predominance out there at all.
Okay, in crap I didn't know news, should cops be allowed to use medical cannabis in Utah?
When
I think cops should be allowed to use medical cannabis anywhere, but Miggy, what do you think? In Utah?
Yeah, anywhere. I was just thinking about this today here in Seattle. I was like, in a legal state, the cops should be allowed to smoke. But yeah, the body that certifies and disciplines all police officers in the state is deliberating whether they should be allowed to use medical cannabis. But I see it's the medical angle they're talking about again.
Well, they don't have non-medical cannabis in Utah. All cannabis currently in Utah must be medical or illegal.
Yeah. In a briefing to Utah's Peace Officer Standards and Training Post Council, a group made up of law enforcement, academic, and citizen representatives, Major Stevenson said Utah's police academies are facing increased inquiries about cannabis. Major Scott Stevenson, the director of Utah's Peace Officer Standards and Training. People have expressed interest in signing up to be a police officer. However, I'm taking medical marijuana or have used it in another jurisdiction where it's legal, like Colorado and Nevada. Major Stevenson said of the comments he's heard. That's, again, the worker situation, right? Why we're having low workers. Well, if you stop drug testing, because that's why everybody's going to Amazon now for whatever reason. We all know
that. We just did an article, or we did a post yesterday, a quick one, because the Brightfield Group is reporting from its review of data that Gen Z is starting to use cannabis early and often. And so if this is going to be something that is used as a substitute good or a preferenced good to alcohol by young people, well, young people grow up.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, cannabis is the safer alternative for everything, whether it be a wellness thing.
I think you can do too little and you probably do too much. I mean, there's that benefit that you get from supplementation, right? But then your body can only absorb so much. And I think you downregulate your THC levels fairly quickly, or your receptors do. But we don't know all that much about this, in the sense that all the science that we do have is mostly from Israel.
That's true, but we have at least 2 anecdotal states that have recreational, I think the oldest ones, and then,
you are the OG.
We're one of the first ones.
2014. Hey, stay tuned for great moments in weed history on July 14th, when legal weed sales for adult use turned 8 years old, because I think that's when Washington State began selling. And I'm not sure if Colorado beat them. We have to find out that letter date in weed history. What state began the first adult use sales and when?
I think Colorado beat us when the stores opened. It took us a while to get our market going, but because there was a lot of big medical fight going on at the time. I mean, I don't know how it went in Colorado.
Well, it's because they're controlling the supply. Washington State is, they have the Liquor Control Board that sets the number of licenses at that state level. Yeah,
that's what's kind of happened. There was a big fighting in the transitional part. That was the biggest thing for us, was the transition. I don't think we had our first sales for like another 1.5 years, 2 years after the people approved it. Yeah. See, Chad knows.
Yeah, Chad's the admin on Future Cannabis Company, or Future Cannabis Channel, Future Cannabis FCP, Future Cannabis Project. Yeah.
Well, I like watching him, and I like to watch all the grower channels. It's so funny because we got our weird little niche about policy and just culture and shit, but to me, it's always been that these guys are the superstars. Then again, they talk over my head, man. Like phenotypes and all this other shit.
C3 asks, though, shout out to member C3. And if you haven't joined us as a members yet, you should, because we're doing a webinar next Tuesday about cannabis delivery. It'll premiere on Cannabis Legalization News, and then it's taken down members only after it's been posted for 24 hours. But why is Biden so anti-weed? I think it has to do with his age.
Yeah, totally. You know, there's got to be more studies done.
Well, he was in there. He was in the Senate when the crime bill in the 90s came through.
Yeah. No, he was part of the super predator fucking people.
Well, yeah, but then, to his credit, he was also part of the great indoctrination and lied, the big lie. And it wasn't like Tommy Chong growing up in Canada, so they had already had a lack of trust for America, so much so that they left, or they located in Canada, not America.
Yeah.
If you're raised in America, you were being lied to hard from the time that he was born, like the late 30s. That was when it was widespread, just straight up propaganda, yellow journalism, and that's what you grew up believing is your own reality. I can see how prejudice would hang out like that for decades.
I mean, if you think about it, imagine like the present day propaganda, the present day bullshit, right? Like January 6th was just a vacation day. Like that's, all these people are hyping up this bullshit. Like the elections were so scary and fraught with fraud. No, none of this shit is true. But people have a certain agenda and are pushing the shit on all of us and shoving it down your throat until you take it or don't. And the point is, you got to take a moment and be like, this is bullshit. This is not true. And prohibition
has had a fact check on this. No, you can't, but you can get 10 years unless you take this plea deal.
But and the reason why I was leading into that is because a Proud Boy claimed marijuana made him storm the Capitol. Stoner Twitter own him.
You know what? If you're blaming weed for your problems, you're really unable to take responsibility for your own actions.
Seriously, though, this is where cannabis and the stigma and the ignorance, surrounding it. Weed made me do it. That's your cop out,
right?
Nothing made you do it. Robert.
It was the gambling. It was like people are prone to addiction, and we don't treat or modulate our behaviors and our addictions very well in this country.
Yeah. Well, we don't. Again, based off like the same propaganda bullshit. From that propaganda, you get the ignorance, the drug ignorance, right? Coffee to cocaine,
slippery slope from coffee to cocaine.
Especially if marijuana is a gateway drug. I'm just saying. Next thing you know, you're in a back alley giving Hummers for $10.
Yeah, that's why I hear it's called cocaine. Actually, we shouldn't be talking about that. I'm not trying to advocate or promote it. We're pretty much universally focused on providing safe access to the cannabis plants and the plants that will one day be powering the planet. And let's start with this country, because when they can make the batteries, when they can make the plastics, when they make the building materials out of the material, that's really when you're going to see the cannabis plant take off.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that prohibition is the basis for our ignorance, like for our, as I said before, that preacher daughter syndrome. Once you get out and you're like, what? There's all this other shit that no one's trying to. What?
Can't believe that.
And then they start getting into the wrong stuff and the bad stuff, because yes, meth is bad. Yes, heroin's bad. Yes,
and that's why you should separate the good stuff from the bad stuff. I'm sorry, you're not allowed to. You're not going to go see that person who sells you harder drugs now that you've taken weed and made it safe and freely available.
But here's the thing: we say this, but yet the other side could say, "Well, that's why we have scheduling." And look where we're at.
Scheduling of the cannabis.
Of drugs.
Sure, but then tobacco is not in the schedule. Alcohol is not in the schedule. And so why is cannabis in the schedule? Cannabis isn't cocaine. Now, if you want to put hashish or some type of extract of it into the schedule, now you have more of a claim. But then if you're going to put it into the schedule, you have to at least be Schedule 3, because I don't want to get hit with IRC 280E. See,
and that's what I'm saying. We complicate it with all this bullshit paperwork, bullshit arbitrary rules. We're like, I got a collection of videos. I want to do another video soon where I took all these drug commercials and I've been capturing them in like daytime. I watch a lot of antenna TV. And so I actually sit through these fucking drug commercials. I'm like, I'm going to wait for it. I'm going to wait for that thing that tells me that's so bad. Like, how is it you can take a pill for like a blood clot and then it can just do a disclaimer like may or may not cause a killing death? Like, what? Like, did I just hear him say could kill me? And this past FDA regulations? Like, none of this shit makes sense.
That's right.
Let me put a fucking disclaimer on fucking cannabis.
And nobody's old enough to remember the lies when they originally happened back in the 30s. And if you happen to have resided in that temporal location, like Joe Biden did, he was a baby at the time. He grew up in that environment of lies and distortions. But everybody that's 65 and under, like all the boomers, I mean, anybody who if was like at least 14 when Woodstock happened. Then it was like not about, then it was un-American to smoke weed. Like, so you couldn't do it because then we'd all become commie liberal hippies.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the same shit that in 9/11. Remember, they're like, don't buy, cartel drugs because you're given to freaking Al Qaeda or some bullshit. Which,
right.
There's monofilling through all shit. But yeah, there's that there's propaganda. Like, what's and I found a story on Georgia that I thought, but it wasn't a good story. It was just it's the ones that we shared. So the fentanyl overdoses on the rise in coastal Georgia. Officials warn marijuana could be laced with it. My thing is, when you see shit like this, the number one go-to is safe access. This is why legalization is important.
That's right.
I mean, I don't know who's fucking lacing weed, and I don't know what that effect would be because you're smoking it. But either way, safe access right there.
Right.
You're putting your people at risk when you the longer.
Not only that, when marijuana dispensaries open, opioid sales decline. Yeah. And so we really need to get better and better data on that, and like make some white papers and be like, hello, everyone who wants to reduce opioid deaths, please look at this data. And they'd be like, well, I don't know, slippery slopes and all, but we'll see.
And no, not just that data, but also the crime data. Because if you look at like police interactions, it's like you're taking that energy away and putting those police actions towards a real crime, not weed. Right. But there's so much things that you can look at. Then the other side just needs to be like open-minded about it, in my opinion.
Yeah, but the Camden County Emergency Management Agency has a Facebook post that says at this time, all recreational use narcotics, including marijuana, should be considered a serious threat to life and safety. That sucks. I mean, that would fail a cannabis test. And then because there's no cannabis market in Georgia, that's being peddled, If
they had a store to go to and someone to talk to the manager about, if they
could get Karen on it, and it's like, excuse me, it's packaged, it's labeled, it's it's got its tax stamp on it. You have the faith and confidence, and when you open that up, that's good weed.
Exactly, man. And there's one more that just happened on yesterday that I think I posted with you guys, but it's about North Carolina. Let me see. I'll post in a small private chat.
Cool, man. Yeah, and then after that, I just think we're going to be wrapping because we've covered the news of the week. That is June the 23rd. I hope that I see a lot of people the next couple of days over at booth 206 in the Chicago show. I'm going to pull up where that sucker is. Map. And then from map, I can then, oh my gosh, this is not the user interface that I had earlier. Don't you hate when that happens?
Did you clear a cache or something?
I think I cleared a cache or something. And then I can hit open in maps.
Oh, right on.
It's near the Salt Creek. And then it is called the Villa Avenue Parking. So that's not yet. It's the Odium Expo Center. So the Odium Expo Center in Chicago. Go over to cannabisimp.com and use promo code CLB15 for 15% off, or go over to cannabisindustrylawyer.com and sign up for our newsletter for the email that'll come out at 5 for a chance to win one of a few free tickets.
Yeah, so last one is North Carolina senators act on medical marijuana legalization bill in committee. So North Carolina Senate committee on Wednesday took action on a bill to legalize medical marijuana, amending it and setting the stage for approval by the panel for a future meeting. So it's just another one that's in process. Another state, and that's what I'm saying. The South is starting to rise, but starting to rise.
Well, what's going to happen is there's going to be a federal model. There's so many states that are so conservative. They're going to wait until that vacuum is forced on them by the federal regulators. And I hope that New York's model, which is more like California's model, and then if we could create something where it's open and it's more like paying your tobacco taxes or your liquor taxes, that's the best we could hope for.
Well, and how can we get interstate commerce? Like, is there a way that we can get interstate commerce without a federal actual legal bill? Could it be there's nothing? Like, no interstate shits. Yeah.
They could completely defund it, I guess. They've already defunded a lot of it, and that's in the budget. I mean, I realized that D.C. wasn't going to be able to sell weed. That didn't make it in the budget. But the federal prohibition against any state marijuana law, so they've granted umbrage, safe harbor to marijuana operators that are licensed by their state. It doesn't matter if it's adult use or medical.
Well, you know how you could do is just kill the filibuster. Just say, bring it back. Make him work.
Well, I think that's going to do it for cannabis legalization news today, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe to keep up with all cannabis legalization news. We'll see you on Sunday.